Hello and welcome to the Edges of Earth. My name is Brock. I spent the last 27 days traveling through Bangladesh. I guess I just want to share with some of the future travelers what my experience was like when it comes to the pros and the cons of traveling in Bangladesh. So every time I make one of these videos, people get angry. So basically, I start with the pros and then I get to the cons. That's the last thing that people hear, and then people get frustrated because I have cons to say and they think the whole video is terrible. But then on the other side, I've made videos where the cons are first, and then people just hear the cons first, get frustrated, and leave and don't even take the time to listen to the pros. So, oh my God, all I can tell you is there are pros, there are cons. I love the country. Despite the cons that I will list, I still want to return to Bangladesh and travel more. So I love Bangladesh, it was fun, but yes, there are pros and cons to traveling Bangladesh, at least from a Western perspective. So my first and major pro is so many people want to meet you. You are a foreigner in Bangladesh and people are quite shocked. Did you know that the last time I checked, Bangladesh was rated 167 out of 195 different countries, and the rating was the least visited countries in the world. So like nobody goes to this country. It's very rare. And so when they see a foreigner, they're quite surprised. And because of this, many people see you, they want to come up to you, some people will ask you for a photo. People are generally interested in who you are, where you're from, what you do, all kinds of questions. But English in this country is very, very limited, so therefore it's hard for people to communicate. But when you do find an English speaker, they're super interested in you and where you're from, and they have 1,000 questions for you. Basically, I'm a guy who travels the world specifically to meet people, like that's all I do, right? So when more people come up to me and talk to me, I become happier because my job becomes easier. I've been to countries where zero people have interest in you, and then learning about the people, the culture, the everything becomes difficult because nobody really wants to talk. So in this country, people generally want to talk, so therefore my job becomes easier. So many people, even though they can't speak your language, still come up to you and ask you for a selfie. It's just a thing. So this is not India where it is the selfie capital of the world, but Bangladesh still has a lot of people who are interested in having a selfie with you. So be prepared, you're going to have a lot of people ask you for a photo. Another thing that I love about this country is the beauty. So basically the cities, I did not go to a city that I thought was beautiful, like any city. It's very interesting, it's very different, it's very unique, but I wouldn't call them beautiful. But the moment you get to the edge of the city or even far outside of the city to basically any village, any rural area, it's literally amazing. You're surrounded by golden grass with green foliage, tons of trees, and a lot of them are palm trees. It's like so beautiful everywhere, and the ground is like this deep reddish brownish color. Everything is so vivid, like the colors are so amazing in Bangladesh. I think it's amazing. The country itself is quite inexpensive. To be a local there and live there, the cost of living is rather low. Probably one of the cheapest countries I've ever been to in my life. But one of the cons I'll talk about in a minute is it's difficult to get that price because you're a foreigner. But if you can get the local price, I'm telling you, this country is quite inexpensive. You can stay there for quite a while and travel. So the hospitality in this country is pretty impressive. I met so many people on the internet and even offline who seen me, tried to communicate to me and said, hey, please come to my area and let's meet. And so obviously I accepted this because this is basically how I travel. And even people that I met on the street, they offered me so much. They had so little, but they offered me so much. And it's the kindness of the people that always draws me back to a country. The people here were so friendly, so kind, and everybody just wanted to help. Some people offered me tea in their house, some people offered me food at their house, some people brought me into their house and requested that I stay in their house just so I didn't have to pay for a hotel. The culture here was very welcoming. People don't know who I am, but yet they take a risk and bring me in, and they offer me friendship and kindness. So that alone for me is the biggest factor. Not so much that people are willing to take me in, it's just like, how do I want to say this? Like, my goal is not to get things from people, no. But when there's a culture of people who generally are kind enough to try to be my friend, try to invite me, try to welcome me into their house and meet their family, yeah, I'm going to go on a limb and say that's a culture that's pretty impressive and I enjoy it. So that is probably my absolute favorite part about Bangladesh is the people. The people were kind. Cool. So those are done. Now let's hop into the negatives. There are a list of more negatives that I will go through, but the weight of the pros are far larger than the weight of the negatives. There are more negatives by numbers, by quantity, but the weight of the pros are heavier. So therefore, I want to go back even though there's negatives. So don't hate me for this. So this list is in no particular order, so you basically want to stick with it until the end. Basically, my least favorite thing about this country is this one right here. And that is, you are a foreigner, so you must pay more. Like, this was unavoidable. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. It doesn't matter if I went to a restaurant, bought street food, went into a small grocery store, or even if I bought a train ticket from the government office. The reality is people will cheat you if you're alone. Sometimes you sit down at a restaurant and you order something, everybody else is paying $55, $75, but you pay $300. Why? Usually when I don't know how to order, I'll point at someone else's plate and say that. And then when I sit there and eat, I watch them pay and how much money they give, so I know the price. And I can't tell you how many times this happened in so many different restaurants. They pay a local price and I get charged 3 or 4 times higher than they do. And you can't really argue with them because it will go nowhere. Sometimes you buy something to drink. You can see the price, the MRP on the bottle, but yet you still pay more. And you point to it and say, and they'll argue with you and say, no, price is wrong, you pay more. Sometimes you catch them and say, no, this is the price. And they say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. That phrase, I forgot, is so prevalent, it's unbelievable. Street food is the same. Local price, 10 taka, how much for me? 100. But this goes with the taxis as well. The rickshaws, the taxis, even the trains. Obviously, if you're alone, totally you're gonna get ripped off. There's just 100% chance. And here's the weird part. When I'm with a locals, so many different locals have helped me, and we've gone around so many different places. And almost every time we get into the taxi and go to the destination, which is the destination that local has done so many times, when we get out and get ready to pay, they charge double. And they say, no, why are you trying to cheat me? They ask them in their language, and they say, oh yeah, well, you're with a foreigner, so obviously we have to charge you more. And the local people are like, no, why? That doesn't even make sense. The foreigners will hate this country and not want to come back because they will tell everyone and we're going to get a bad reputation. And then it's like this argument between the local person and the other local person, and then finally they can get the local price or still have to pay a little bit more simply because I'm with them. And this is a thing that has happened almost every single time. It was really rare to find a business person of any kind who wanted to give me an honest price. That was discouraging. That's the major thing, because I travel for people, and when people intentionally try to cheat me, yeah, I can honestly say I don't like that. I understand the situation is a little bit rough. I completely get it, but you can either cheat me or not cheat me. And when you do, and when everyone does consistently, it's just kind of disheartening. Another con is that the locals say that the laws aren't really all that enforced. You can do a lot of stuff in Bangladesh and kind of get away with it, I guess. I don't know. It's not something that I did. What is happening behind me? Many locals have told me the same thing. It's like, yeah, there's laws, but nobody really enforces them. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, you can do stuff and nobody cares. But then on the other side, there's so many people who have bad things happen to them and no one really cares. And there's no justice. So, yeah, it's not cool. So don't get injured in Bangladesh. Why? Because the emergency services, it's not the fastest thing in the world. So unfortunately, if you break your leg, if you get cut and you're losing blood, like I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, good luck. It's not going to be an easy thing for you to reach a hospital or a doctor. You don't just call the ambulance and then they come without any delay. It's like a slow thing, so I don't know. I mean they'll get there, but it's just not the speed that we're used to in the West. So all I can say is just be super cautious and try to avoid anything that might harm you. One thing that I didn't really like in Bangladesh was that everyone wants your contact info. If someone meets you and exchanges more than 3 English words with you, and then you're ready to say goodbye, like, the thing that everyone asks you for is, what is your phone number? How can I get a hold of you? What is your email? What is your phone number? What is your Facebook? I don't know, somehow I want to connect with you forever. And so, unfortunately, I had to lie a lot, because obviously as a traveler, as someone who posts a lot of videos and is on social media a lot, the more you hand out personal information, the more emails and the more things that I have to go through. And it's fun to read these things. And a comment on a video and a comment on Facebook, it's wonderful. Like, hello, how are you? But when people send me direct messages or private messages or have my private phone number or have my private email, yeah, I can honestly say it gets overwhelming, and the messages are just, hey, good morning, what's up? Did you have dinner? Like, why are you asking me these questions? If you have a serious question about, can you give me some recommendations about this area and this local thing because I seen in a video you did this once before, then I'll try my best to answer. But like, what do you have for lunch? Like, really? Many people want your contact information. You can do what you want. I'm just telling you it's going to happen. So if you don't want to hand this information out, come up with some type of excuse. The other huge con for me in Bangladesh, as well as some other countries, is basically the SIM card. Now, basically, you're a foreigner, so you must be a terrorist. So getting a SIM card is like having a root canal. Like, it's just unbelievably difficult. I think it's possible. Somehow you can find out how, but you have to fill out mountains of paperwork and prove mountains of stuff and have this waiting period all to get a SIM card. And then even some of your data is restricted. Like, you can only have so much and the card will only last so long and the price is so much higher. Something crazy like this. I don't know the details. All I know is I got really lucky and a local gave me his old 3G SIM card, so I actually could connect. The speed was terribly slow back in the 3G world, but I was very fortunate. He was very kind. He gave me his old SIM card, said, here, take it. I'm not going to use it anyway. And so we recharged it, and then I had it for a month. It was amazing. So my suggestion to you is, if you're in a Western country now, go on the internet, buy a SIM card that is pre-ready to go for Bangladesh, and I think you can do that, and I think it'll be the best option for you, because let me tell you, once you're inside, you cannot use Google because you have no internet. No internet means no translation. No translation means you can't read anything, and you can't communicate because no one speaks English. And that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying this is fact. It's so rare to find someone who speaks great English or any English at all. And really, that's cool. I met so many people who I translated with my phone to communicate in English, and it's fun. I enjoy it, but I'm saying if you don't have a SIM card, you are in another world. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to go anywhere, and you can't communicate to people other than using your fingers and hands. And let me tell you, that's difficult. So as an American, traveling to this country for 30 days is $165 for the visa. That's like insane. I paid that exact price to get a 10-year visa in India. So, wow, this is like outrageous. And from what I've seen, Americans are charged more than any other passport holder, period. Why? I don't know. But the only way around this that I found, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be true or not, it was like somewhere deep on the internet, is that if you buy a plane ticket and land in Dhaka, let's say, the cost of the visa is $150, and I think you have to have it before you arrive, I'm not sure. Or you can cross a border from India, or just go through a border crossing. If you do that, the visa is $50, and that was true. I did it, and it was only $50 exactly. So the cost of the visa is reduced by a lot. But going through the border, let me tell you, it's not an easy thing. It's a difficult thing to get there. It's a difficult thing to go through it. And it's a difficult thing to get from there to your destination. So if you're traveling on a shoestring budget like me and you're trying to save money, that is your best option. It will take a significantly large amount of time compared to just flying in. But if you want to save money, that's definitely the best option. In addition, flying to Bangladesh is super expensive as well. Basically, I tried to fly from Kolkata to Dhaka, which is like an hour-and-a-half flight or something like that. And it was like $150 to do that, which is insane. If I fly anywhere around there, it was so cheap. But I don't know, it's like they capitalize on tourists. They intentionally increase the price of the plane ticket and then intentionally increase the price of the visa because they know that most foreigners will do that option versus cross the border. And it's just a way to get as much money as possible. Another really difficult thing about Bangladesh is that very few people, like I mentioned before, speak English. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say this is negative in any way in terms of, like, I don't expect that people should speak English just because I'm traveling to that country. I mean, absolutely not. That's a terrible thought. But I will say, as an English speaker, traveling in this country is difficult because you rely on your phone to translate everything. You rely on your phone to translate everything. Basically, to talk to people, your phone. To read on the board, the phone. English is almost nowhere. In addition, the number systems are different. So, for example, if you see the number 8, it does not mean 8, it means 4, because they have completely different number structures. Blows my mind. I can't even... So when you see prices on a menu, like, they're all wrong. They're all different characters. You do see the number 8, but it doesn't mean 8. It's just difficult. It is. So all I can say is the most important thing if you're traveling to Bangladesh, somehow get a SIM card before you arrive, because if you don't, travel will be hell, and I mean hell. Even with a SIM card, I will say that this is the most difficult country I have ever traveled in my life. And I say this to warn you, Bangladesh is awesome, go, I encourage it, but only if you're a seasoned traveler and only if you're a hardcore traveler, because this will test your limits. I promise you. So you are warned before you go. This is a very difficult country to travel in. If you have a friend who can help you, awesome, it's easy. But let me tell you, if you don't have a friend, you're going to be very stressed. Now, the last thing I basically want to talk about is food. Now, the food there is good. It's spicy. They like everything spicy. I don't like spicy stuff, but you can find things that are not spicy. The food tastes great, but the downside is obviously, without being disrespectful, there's a large amount of people who are uneducated, and because of that, they lack proper hygiene information when it comes to food prep. Just the whole food cooking and cleaning process. When you watch people cook, you see it's very, very unhygienic, and there's a whole list of things that I could talk about strictly on food prep in this video. And this is people preparing street food. This is people in restaurants when you watch them prepare it. I mean, this is kind of like all over the country. Now, that's not to say that every place is like this. Absolutely not. I can only tell you that it's a very high amount. All I can do is compare it to Western standards, and it's nowhere close. It's very similar to many other places in Asia. It's not that I'm picking on Bangladesh. Asia in general lacks information when it comes to food prep and hygiene. It's just a thing. So just be aware. If you want to eat street food, just be sure you wait in a line and eat food that you know is safe, because everybody else knows that it's safe. So just don't be the first one in line, and never buy food that has been sitting there for a while, collecting dust, collecting flies, people touching it with their bare hands. I mean, obviously these are just common sense things, but just be aware. All I can tell you is eat fresh food as much as possible, and you should be good to go. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to say. If you have been to Bangladesh before, or even if you live in Bangladesh, feel free to comment below and let me know if I missed anything, pros or cons. Probably I did. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video kind of gives you an idea of what's in my head, and I hope it helps someone somewhere in the future, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. I hope you all enjoyed. A big shout out to those who are currently supporting me on Patreon. It helps more than you think. I thank you all for watching, and remember, your time is running out. Start living. Take care.